next segment of our DSA Woke Book Club. I am Karen Lemons, and the rest of the folks, please introduce yourselves.
Clint Chico.
Cedar Rock. Brianna Couch.
Daniela Bora.
Mylea Moody.
Okay, and we are here to talk about a hot romance story. It is called Love Radio, starring two wonderful teens, one by the name of Danny, the other one named is Prince, who is Dr. DJ Love on the radio. And I am not going to spoil this for you, so I'm going to open it up to the folks who want to talk about it. Who wants to start first?
I'll go off with my favorite moment of the book. I don't
Okay.
know if this is much of a spoiler. I'm going to try to be careful with it. But when Danny talked about like her past experience with like sexual assault, and Prince was open to giving her space, I was really surprised. That like I don't know why it like connected with me in such a deep level, but like something about it was just like, oh wow, he really loves this girl, and I don't have that.
Okay, what was a good moment for you?
One of my, well, I don't know if I really have a favorite moment, but just like her name being Danny is like really is close to me because my friends like growing up call me Danny.
Oh, that.
Yes, for Daniela. So two N's, one I. And this is kind of some of the stuff I share with you. So I, as a Detroit girl, just love all the references. But I'm always curious, like, is that really like a Detroit thing? Like at one point she talks about what she was putting on for the day, and she was putting on her vintage, which I was like, oh my God, I'm so old. A vintage Aaliyah t-shirt. Just the references to like Better Made and it's Shane Park. It'll always be Shane Park to me, even though we know now it's Aretha, amphitheater. But so I love all the Detroit references, but I always wonder, like, are other people really getting it? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure you can read past it because I think for a lot of cities like New York and Chicago and LA, like there's a lot of like their flavors, right, in the book. Mm-hmm. But for us, like, we don't get it as often. So, I really enjoyed that about it.
I did too. Brianna.
I love all the moments, literally all the moments with the friends. Like Danny with her friends and then Prince with his. Because Aunt, let me tell you. First, it's so funny. It just reminds me so much of my friends because they literally crack jokes all day. So that was something. But also, the point of how Prince is DJ Love Jones and his friends mock him, but sometimes they're like, so what should I do? So they go to him. I just think it touched on a bit of a little bromance, him and his friends. And at first, I didn't like it at first because, about jokes, I was thinking like, hold on, they're making fun of his show, but then I was like, oh, yeah, my friends would do the same. But, and I don't know if I'm stealing this from anybody, but again, it's a part where he comes over to take down Danny's braids.
Yeah, you stole that. That was mine.
It's so cute, and I was like, I have locks, but it's okay. If I had braids.
Yours would be like a retwist though, right? Or like a touch-up.
There you go. Come on and retwist. Put a little scarf on it.
So I have to inject for just a moment because when we were in class and she said, he took out her braids. And I'm sitting there, was like, he said, oh my God, that is so. She was just like giving me this whole thing, and I was like, yeah. She said, I wasn't going to do the same. I was like, I understand. I don't have, but it was her, the whole thing. And she kind of repeated that same drama. But that was endearing to me as well. I had some other ones, but I'm going to let Cedar talk.
Well, you just stole mine. It's okay. I really like when they met in the library and she tried to eat him up and it failed so badly. It was so funny to me. I love that scene. I don't know why.
It did, yeah.
That she was wrong about the kids. Yeah, that was crazy.
I like when he was like, okay. I was like, yeah, check her, because I know that's right.
I want to mention, because you brought it up, kind of the Detroitness of it, right? When I look for a book that's specifically set in a certain location, how much of the location is going to become a character in this, right? And there's a lot in there that's basically a love letter to Detroit. You can tell the person who wrote it spent time here. It's not like, I mean, I could set something in San Francisco and then research a bunch of stuff. That's not what this is. It did get a little heavy early on when, like on the second or third page, oh, they're drinking Vernors and they're eating Better Made. Are they? Okay, really? Yeah, okay. That's a little heavy.
Okay.
But there's some stuff like when they go to the Motown Museum, right? When they mention Shane Park. Some stuff like that is very specific and is handled really well. I actually, it started hitting heavy, and so I started writing down examples of everything they mentioned.
Okay.
So they mentioned Vernors and Better Made, like first chapter, I think. They mentioned Meyer with no S at the end. They go to King Books, which I've been there.
Yeah.
She goes to, now see, here's the thing. She goes to King Books to look for stuff casually. You don't go to King Books to look for stuff casually, because it's 3 stories of, it's monstrous.
It is.
But whatever. They eat at Andiamo. They go to the Fox Theater. Woodward is mentioned. Dutch Girl Donuts, which I'm not sure if they're still around.
No.
Which also tells you, like, which is something I've had to go through, is when you put stuff out for publication, this was written years and years and years before it hits the shelf, and you forget that sometimes because
Right.
it feels fresh, and then little stuff like the Dutch Girl Donut stuff, it's a reminder that she probably wrote that in 2018, 19 maybe,
Yeah.
Motown Museum they go to, the Jazz Fest is mentioned. I wasn't sure if you 3 would get this. They mentioned It's So Cold in the D.
I heard
Do you
that.
guys know It's So Cold in the D?
No.
You really need to Google it. You really should. Not now. Not right now. But when we're off the air. And the Detroit Free Press is mentioned.
And Detroit Public Library.
And the Detroit Public
Yeah.
Library.
He was at the main library.
And and this was the one thing. So they name drop all this stuff, and there's a lot of, and it's done lovingly, right? And I mentioned this to Fiore when after I'd first read this, because we started talking about something or other, and I don't remember what. What school did they go to?
Mass
Mass
Tech.
Mass Tech.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When they said that, I was like, oh.
Right. To which
Right.
I think
right.
I had to go
now,
back.
now Fiore's question was, why wouldn't they just use the real name? And it's tricky
That is tricky.
because there's a difference between them going to the Motown Museum, which is going to come off very positively. Anytime you mention a high school or something like that by name, you have to be very careful how you deal with it. You're legally fine to, and that question gets thrown around online a lot. Hey, can I mention this? Can I mention that? You can, because it's an entity that exists, and you can know. But this is somebody being very careful, and because good things happen there, bad things happen there. Students who went there, the sexual assault thing that you mentioned, and how that's handled. It's easier to deal with stuff like that when it's a fictional high school. Even in a real city, and here's the other thing too. Nobody outside of this area cares because no one's going to catch it, right? No one outside of this area knows what Cass is, and no one cares. We'll catch it,
And we care.
Yeah, and we care. But if you're in New York or Los Angeles or something, and you're reading the book, you're like, okay, because it doesn't mean anything. But it's really obvious that, or the location and how the people here deal with that really plays into it. It feels very Detroit. And again, I don't live in the city, but I work in the city and I teach kids from the city, and I know that feeling and that vibe is in there, and that was cool.
Yeah. I did mention that when I think I shared this post on Facebook about how well she does. She does Detroit proud. She really does, and I love that because we get banged up enough, but she does a good job with that. We do. We get a lot.
And that it was love, like
Yes.
between younger people too. I
Mhm.
think especially I think because I was kind of in the beginning like, so this kid is how old and he's on the radio giving love advice? And I was picturing myself driving after work because I like to listen to the radio. And I'm like, I'm taking advice from a high schooler though? I don't know about that. How real is that? But I do appreciate his maturity because he's caring for his mother.
Oh
So I think that's what kind of has grown him up a little bit. But I'm still like, I don't know if you need a whole spot where like grown people are calling in and, you know, really asking. But maybe love is just that simple, that adults make it complicated based on life experiences.
Maybe, yeah,
Okay,
okay.
I'm done.
But I don't know. I was thinking that maybe he was appealing to the high school students.
Oh,
I
to
don't
younger
know,
people.
because his uncle is the one that owns is running the show, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking maybe that particular time slot is after school, and maybe it's the young kids. But see, that's my interpretation of it. But that's a thought. I hadn't thought about it.
Maybe I think I'm still in high school or I'm still a young person.
Of course you are.
I mean, yeah, no.
Brianna, I thought you wanted to sound like you wanted to say something else. Go ahead.
When it was born, you were like, maybe love is just that simple. I don't know.
Yeah, adults make it very complicated, but it's really based off of life experiences, right? Like, he's mature enough, he has had a relationship and a heartbreak-ish, so he is very clear about what he wants in terms of dating or dating someone, which is fine. And I really like that they actually, in my head, were like, had flipped the script, right? That she was very like, I don't know. And I understand like her experience like really changed her. And that makes sense, right? And that part was kind of hard. I was like, ooh, I just, you know, especially when you're not in college, having that type of experience, like, I guess from my standpoint, like in college is where like everybody's just kind of, you have more freedom. You know, nobody's telling you can't be in this person's room or they can't come, you know what I mean? So for her to have that experience kind of early, I was like, oh wow. But I see how it kind of changed her, right? So that might be going back to what I said, like life experiences is what changes your perception of love or how easily you're willing to exchange.
It's okay. I didn't see what chapter, but Danny, she is talking about how she might be in love with friends or she may not be. And let's see, I'm gonna quote her, page 208. Love is the way my dad shows me he cares, the interest he takes in my boring life even from hundreds of miles away. The potential they see in me to get it together, to become a better woman even if I don't see it. She's talking about her mom and dad and how they have love and patience with her. But then she says that type of love takes years of cultivating, not 3 days. So, you know, she's going back and forth with herself. And she's like, but how do I tell Prince that so day 3 can wait? And she said that. I was like, can it go?
Somebody really like this book.
She did. Speaking of that, the dates. You want to talk about the dates?
Are you about to cry?
So cute, and it was full of love. At first I was thinking, okay, are they gonna do like something really, really cheesy? Which I guess that was a little bit, but it was cute. First of all, when he took her to the spot where he had her do the scavenger hunt the first date, that was cute. I was like, so where's mine? You know, I was sitting there and I was talking to my mom and she's like, girl, bye. But it was just so cute, and how she slowly was like, okay, wait, he's listening to me, he cares, because she was already expecting, you know, even though she apologized to him, it was still that defense up. And she was like, okay, yes, he said he's trying to get to know me, and I'm giving him this chance. And she's like getting more surprised and more surprised. I'm like, and I know he's just sitting there like, does she like it? It's just, okay. And I just think it was so special. Like, each and every day was different from the other, which I was thinking they might have kept. I thought she was going to keep playing on, you know, the library, which, I mean, then, what was that? And then, I'm going to move over just a little bit. When, ooh, that's a spoiler. We're not going to say that. We're going to say something else. Just all together, it was so cute. And I was thinking to myself, because I am a romantic. I would read romance books and watch all types of movies till I pass away, okay? And I was thinking, like, it feels so, it feels like a reality to, how I view it in high school right now. I mean, of course, in middle school, I was thinking, oh, weddings, girl, you're in high school. But right now, it's just like, okay, this is realistic. I was thinking they're going to be like, you know, the stereotypical, they're going to a movie and they're scared to, they put their hands in the popcorn, all together. And it was so much more real than I expected. So I'm reading it. That's why I get so giddy. I'm just like, it's so cute. I'm having the cutest ever.
I told you, that took a lot of work to do that. And you're right, he was getting to know her. I said, wow. I said, I would like a date like that. I was like,
It's funny because I usually do not read romance books. I like more informational and like maybe horror books. But reading this book did not feel like a romance book. It felt like somebody was telling like their love story to me. Like I was sitting down and they were on the side telling me their stages of what happened, how they got together. And I love that, but I also hate it because knowing that I go here, that's never going to happen.
Like that's not like
I'm just like I'm reading this and I'm just like this is beautiful, but then I look up and I'm just like oh, DSA.
no, you don't think so?
Can I just say this though? I just said this last week to one of my girlfriends. I was like, you know, I was thinking, I think I experienced more chivalry like in elementary school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Than I did, like maybe middle school, okay, maybe high school, but that also was a long time ago.
You're
but
bragging.
my point is, like, really younger, I remember, like, boys doing things like giving me, like, money or wanting to give me, like, little trinkets. And, of course, in elementary school, that seems, like, crazy, right? So I'm like, no, like, I can't accept this. But I think, I hate to say it, but I think chivalry is coming to a death.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to say this before anybody first, there are people out there who are as nice and good as Prince are. There's not a lot.
They're not here.
But they do exist.
Right.
However, please understand the amount of the book date alone at the bookstore. They get in after hours for themselves. He's got a picnic thing planned out. Bought copies of stuff for her. Had the money and time and energy that this dude put out for one date. This is insane.
It's not sustainable. They can't keep going
It's
like
not
this.
sustainable.
Oh, it's never sustainable.
It's wonderful and it's great and it looks really good in the book. But oh my God, I'm reading it and I'm like,
You guys step your game up.
You gotta take it down a notch. Or when your anniversary comes around, she's gonna expect the helicopter and Maui, and I don't know where you go from here.
I kind of agree with you because I'm sitting there saying, okay,
It's great though, but
who's going to top this? I mean, like,
Right.
it's like,
Scavenger hunt on the first day.
Yeah.
Like, he set that standard for himself, and now there's
Yes.
nowhere to go.
Although the Motown Museum was really good, she got him back on that one because she
Yeah.
had somebody who was informative and here's the other thing too, and I've mentioned this before with the other books that we read. One of the first things that I look for when there's books like this, and it's people who get together, right, is what attracts them to each other. And when it's all surface, oh, she's so beautiful, oh, he's so cute, and that's it. But you get what they really like about each other. And they get it too. And you see that yes, the gifts and stuff are extravagant and way out there. But you get that it's very personalized toward them, right? That's cool and that's cute. It's music-based stuff for him. It's book stuff for her, and that kind of thing. And so that was really nice, and it makes you believe in the relationship a lot more. You guys mentioned the braid stuff, and obviously that's not something that I have a lot of experience with, one side or the other. But I will say this. Here's how I read it. You had a lot of guys who will they'll do whatever to physically get with the girl, right? He's doing whatever just to spend time with her, right? Because this is something I had no clue. I knew it took time, but the effort, and they talk about the hands cramping and that kind of stuff, right? It's physically difficult for him. It's not just time consuming. And so that's cool that he's willing to do that. Not for the chance to, kiss on her and all that kind of stuff, because that's not even in the picture right now. It's just to get his foot in the door and to spend time with her. And that's really cool. That was
cool.
nice. Yeah.
That is cool.
Well, that's super intimate. And I think I was kind
True.
of like, he's ready to do her hair? Like,
That's a good.
Okay.
That is a good point when you're looking at stuff like this and how it's written, because the author could have had him come in and dust the shelves or something, or babysit the kids or what or I don't but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Something, but something like that. You are in close proximity, right? You're touching her. It's her hair, but still, and so there's an intimacy to that, which is really cool.
And even if it's, because now even going deeper into like, as he was talking about it and she was describing like her positioning, like, so there's an intimacy in your mother doing your hair, sitting in between her knees, and she's got all her brush and all the barrettes. There is an intimacy and a bond, and there's care and love in doing that. And I know he's taking her hair down, but if anybody has had friends that have recruited you for even that, I'm like, girl, how many people come in? Are there gonna be snacks?
Microwave.
Yes. And then they want to get all technical, like, don't cut my hair. I'm like, listen, I'm doing this stuff, right? So it's very deep, and like, for him to be so young, but again, I just go back to how much he's caring for his mother, because even that scene where his friends they're working out, like they're doing like, I guess, guy things. They like working out, they're talking trash, and mom hurts herself, and then like everybody has to go because he has to attend to his mom. I just keep attributing his maturity to that, because that's a huge responsibility, right?
Oh, and remember his brother too, because his brother's autistic.
Yes.
So I was like, God, he juggling this. And and here's the interesting thing. I like the way I like how she does some little twists and turns, because and I say this because I read enough books, well, I should say I read quite a few YA books, and sometimes my antennas start going up as soon as I'm reading certain things. He very well knows. And so when the scene was when his mother did pass out or she fell or something like that, I'm like, okay, what kind of mother is she? You got this. You got this beautiful son. I was like, okay, oh my goodness. And then when I found out, I'm not gonna spoil it. When I found out, I was like, oh no.
Yes.
I said, he got this. Then he got a brother who's autistic.
Yeah, I related to that a lot. Like, not in a sense of all that responsibility, but having an autistic sister. I'm seeing things. I'm like, okay, and I know I appreciate my sister so much because she has, of course, it's a spectrum, and the way she teaches me things, even though I'm older than her, or I'm not on the spectrum, I just saw it was so beautiful that she included those small but big details. Like, she was like, okay, now let's throw these in. He's autistic. That's the third. I'm like, I didn't expect this. I was thinking, okay, maybe a little brother that's hard-headed or anything. But it just was like, okay, in so many ways I'm feeling seen in this book. From being a young black girl, and the intimacy with taking hair down and black love, and then it comes to that. I'm like, oh, did she just come to my house?
Yeah, and that and that's interesting, and I think that helps Prince, in terms of his attention to being to detail and getting to know people. That kind of having that mother and having that brother just really I'm not gonna say it's natural, but it's easier for him to be able to spend that time trying to figure out someone and get to know someone as opposed to, you know, just like you saying, getting with the girl. Basically.
And I love that he like does all of the things that he does without expecting anything in return. Like when he took her hair down, he wasn't asking her for anything. He was just doing it like to help her and to serve. And that's like, you don't see that a lot in books, in fiction, or in real life. Like you don't see it a lot.
Yeah, as soon as I say, how much you gonna pay me? Or would you say the snacks?
That's me actually. How much you gonna pay me? That's me. Yeah.
But
I
you
can't
tried
lie.
some snacks too.
Yeah, that
right?
was cute.
We did. What did you? So even though we're saying all of this, like we are recognizing how mature and how much responsibility Prince has. There's a point where she's going over, like I know she's kind of pushed him, like follow your dreams and do that. That's really what you want to do. But at one point she's talking to her friends about all that responsibility as almost a burden for him, and kind of like, I don't want to have to like raise him, or I don't want to have to push him or motivate him. I don't want anybody that's not, I can't remember the term she used, but I don't want anybody that's settling. She does say that's settling. And I was like, is he settling though? Like he has a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I think I've had that conversation with students too, that will talk that over with your parents, because all the responsibility that you're taking on, you might be taking it on, and that might not be the expectation at all, right? So have that conversation like, Mom, how does this look if I really want to go to New York, you know, and really follow my dreams? Because I'm sure she wants him to do that, right? And I don't know what the outcome could be. But I don't know. There was just one moment where I was like, girl, he not just out here just piddle-paddling around. Like, he really has responsibility and things that he's thinking about. So, and I'm sure that was a moment of growth for her, but...
And I think the mother mentioned about how she needed to kind of do things for herself, and she loves and appreciates what he does, but she also recognizes that he does need to have his own life and follow his dream. Mm-hmm. I think there's a part in there that's mentioned, but some young people do settle.
They do.
They settle.
And sometimes because they don't have enough people to push or someone to say no.
Gotcha.
Like you can do that. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I just kind of felt like I was like, okay, Danny. Like I get it. You're protecting your heart, but in some ways, like recognize that he's not just settling.
Yeah,
like he's trying to figure
at
that
first.
out.
The judgment she had at first.
Yeah.
Because he does have ambition, and I remember, was he talking to his counselor or was it a teacher? It was some male teacher or counselor, and he was like, okay, so are you not gonna go here? Like, you can do this and that. He's like, well, you know, I have the station, and I have this, and he was just settling that out, but he was happy with it, which I didn't feel like he was settling. And then again, you know, people always have, it's a flip-flop of opinions, you know. Because I could want to go to New York and see just like, actually, I think I'm staying in Detroit and go to such and such. And I'm like, wow, don't you think that's settling? It's local, you know, it could be something like that. But I think Danny was just, you know, she was still, it was slowly melting down, but she was like, well, I mean, this, that, the third. Like, she's trying to put out those reasons. She's like, well, you know, don't you think that, you know, maybe it's not right for me?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Let's see. There was a part. Well, since you guys mentioned the library, there was a part in here that just really rung so true with me. And this is one she said, and this was me to T. And so this is Prince, and he's trying to find some books for his brother. And she says, "You don't know how many librarian conferences I've been to complaining about this very thing to publishers." And I am telling you, I have been to a ton of library conferences. And yes, we are constantly talking to publishers like, look, can you get us in your books, please? For the young people, for children, you know, because they'll publish animal stories up the wazoo. And every year there's a center for in Madison, Wisconsin, and what they do every year, they actually do a report about the number of ethnic books that are published, you know, and those are the ethnic books that are published by the ethnic writers, as well as ethnic books published by white writers. And it's so interesting to see that scale. And at one point in time, we were hot and heavy. You know, we were just like, we were kind of up there, but now it's kind of like, oh, okay.
I pictured you in that role. Miss Lemons, like, and I was like, that whole thing, like, being inside the main library. I was like, oh my goodness.
This is Miss Lemons all the way.
Yes, yes.
They got it wrong though, because I don't know that librarian they were talking about, and I know everyone at the library.
Oh. Maybe they were hiding
So
their
she's
She's
not
like
as-
a composite character, perhaps.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
this
change the names.
Okay, so she's all
I don't remember her.
Right. You gotta check.
But okay, so is she this particular one, because she is a pleasant one? So that's what you're saying, is because these librarians are pleasant.
No,
I know all the librarians in the main library by
That's what
name.
she literally
You-
I used to go there like every 2 weeks.
You know her
Like,
name. Oh, you did? I haven't been
Did
inside
they?
the main library.
was there no name in there?
I don't think there was a name. They just
I
said.
don't
See,
think she had
it
a
could
name.
have been one.
But I'm saying she was pleasant. That's what I'm saying. And so
Let's again mention that it's a work of fiction.
But I like her. That she probably is
She
a
don't work there
composite.
for real.
No.
See, you're
Maybe
over
she
here
do,
like,
I
there's
don't
only
know.
17 steps. I don't know why they put.
Maybe
not
she's new. They
24.
could have hired somebody new for something.
But wait a minute. Also remember what Chico said earlier, that this book was probably written like, and you know the
That's
pandemic,
right.
and the
This
pandemic
person-
really changed. And I'm telling you, in the main library, there's quite a few of the library staff has probably retired.
Right.
So you are being
favorite one.
nitpicky.
She says, I know all the librarians, and
That's
I
right.
don't know anything. I don't remember her. Like, wow. Okay. All right. Any other parts that you like?
I want to mention something about the fact that Prince works on the radio. Because, that, like you in the library thing, right? Anytime you see stuff that you're familiar with, you kind of look and see how authentic it feels.
How authentic?
And the entertainment industry, and radio specifically, is something that a lot of people only know tangentially. She either has been involved in it, or she's gotten a lot of good advice and research. Because it rings true. Him being as young as he is a little bit of a push, except for the fact that they only put him on sporadically. He only gets an hour, and his uncle works there, right? Now, as far as whether or not people are going to listen to him, because that's dicey at first. If I had to guess, you said that you thought they put him on there to talk to other high schoolers. If I had to guess, that's how this kind of thing would start, right? He's going to talk to the other kids. We'll get some kids listening. They don't mention I can't remember if they gave it call letters and a frequency, but I'm pretty sure it's a fictional station based on one of the real ones here. If it's kind of what I'm thinking, it's an older skewing R&B station that's trying to pull in younger listeners, which is why they would have a kid like that on there. Now what's going to happen is, because remember, he gets callers from like, hey, my boyfriend wants to take me on a cruise or a trip or something, or that he's getting calls from adults, right? But people at this point in the book, people already know who he is. He's been on the air for a while. He probably started off getting calls from teenagers, from friends, and that kind of stuff. And then what happens is, when people realize that you know what you're talking about, they don't care how old you are, and especially over the radio, right? Because he probably sounds older than he is. He definitely speaks more maturely than a lot of high schoolers. And so it's very easy for people to forget, was he 17, 18, something like that, right? Now, when I was 17 when I got to college, I was on the air at 17. I didn't know what I was doing. But I mean, they put me in front of a microphone. So it's not unheard of. It is odd for a city as large as Detroit is. But it does it's not like they gave him prime time, 4 hours every day or something. They
Right.
gave him an hour sporadically. And that kind of makes sense. More than the radio love thing, there's a spot where he's DJing at the skating rink, right? This part is absolutely true. He's talking while he's grabbing music, while he's talking to Danny, while he's doing three things. That is 100% what DJing is. Everyone thinks it's the mic thing or it's the spinning thing. It's being able to thought process
Yeah.
through 3 or 4 different things. Oh, it's a lot like teaching, all at the same time.
Right.
Because you not only have to do what you're doing now, you have to be ready for what you're doing next, and you have to be
Yeah,
ready for what
that's
you're doing
true.
next. And you also have to think about what you just did a minute ago, right? And that kind of being able to handle a lot of things at once, that part, I was like, yeah, that's. She talked to somebody who had done this before and got some really good, how do I play this and that kind of thing. Or she's got some kind of experience in the industry or something.
I don't know. I think she may.
She may, yeah. But sort of like, she's from the area. She may not have been born in Detroit, but she's a Michigander, right?
Yeah, she was born in Michigan.
And that part of it all rings true. And so, yeah, that's the kind of thing. If you don't do it right, someone will call you out on it. So I'm
That's
glad
true.
that they handled it the way they did,
That's
because
true.
it can, And yeah, I totally buy that the uncle could get him in, real quick, especially because he's very personable. Think about how he met the dad and everything, right? How you doing it? I'm guaranteed he met the radio guys that way too, right? Dude comes up to you like that, you're like, oh, we'll give him a shot, right?
Right.
So yeah, I can, a bit of a push, maybe, yeah, but a very,
I
very
can see
plausible
that.
one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mhm.
And I think so. 98 is a station that, in my head, is constantly staying younger and
Yeah.
staying relevant.
Mhm.
I'll
Okay.
say.
Okay.
So I can see that that he's at a station that is for younger people, right? Even though you grow up on something, and then you kind of go, okay, I gotta like migrate to another station. But every once in a while, you come back real life because in your head, like that was, a space that you were related to. But that makes sense, and I think it's cool that he has like this different type of job, right?
Yeah.
Like.
It is.
That's kind of cool.
That is
And that's
cool.
how I imagine he has money to buy skates and do all this stuff. 'Cause he has-
Yeah, that's what you have to do. I'm gonna take you skating. Oh, and by the
Buy
way,
you some
I
skates.
snuck into your locker and bought you skates and delivered.
That was cute. Stop.
No, it was.
What?
It was.
So cute.
It was very cute. It was wonderful. It is setting the bar so high for the rest of
Right.
us
Because
that,
skates
like,
are
I don't,
expensive.
Right, but she couldn't wear skates. She took
When I said he bought her some skates, I'm like, oh my
That
We're
God.
gonna
does-
buy her some pom-poms. or
that does
something.
imply that he knows her
Right.
shoe size. Now that I think about it,
That's true.
Wait a minute.
because you're dropping 70 or 80 on a pair of skates. What if you get
Not
them
even
available?
that.
Go
These
ahead.
days,
Go
I
ahead.
roller skate. I know how much skates cost. They
More?
are way more than that.
More, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah,
Even though I
200,
can-
So you can tell I rent. I don't.
Yeah, I want some little
I want a pair of
maxis. I got-
Give me
I
the
got
gray
some
ones
skates. I
with the
got my
number on the
eyes.
back, and one of the wheels is a little janky. That's fine.
I do want to make one correction. His brother had attention deficit.
ADD.
Okay.
Yeah, ADHD, right. I don't know why I thought autistic,
Because I
but
was like, oh, autism? That's why I was surprised. I was like, oh, well, I relate to it.
you could have corrected me that. But yes, because I'm reading the part where he corrected her on these books. Yeah, I'm rereading that part. He did. He read her the right. That's really
I was
good.
glad he did that.
Because he let her know. He set her straight from the beginning. It's like, look, I'm not that guy.
Right.
That made me so happy, like, because a lot of the times in fiction, when the guy, like, already previously likes the girl, he's not gonna do anything to make her mad
This
at
is
all,
true.
ever. But Prince was like, even though I like you, I'm not going to, like, change myself or hide who I am or, like, lie to you because of that. Like, he was straight up with her. I love that.
Yeah,
Setting
I love
boundaries.
that.
That is an
Yeah.
insanely
Yeah.
good point.
But that's how you are able to have a good relationship when you can continue to be yourself.
Right.
Exactly.
Because I get it. I know we're saying he's setting the bar high. And I think we kind of know, like, that does not last. Like,
Right.
and I don't mean to say it like that, but, like, your relationship just revolves into something else. But, yeah, I don't...
You're right that if they weren't both authentic about who they were, it doesn't matter how many skates you're buying. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Danny wasn't that person. She wasn't, well, the author perceived her to be just a person. She isn't like, oh, he just did all that. Now I want him to get me a plane. You know? Right.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, the authenticity of it is so cute.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was like breath of fresh air.
It was. I love reading this. It's in Detroit. You know, I can identify with some of the landmarks. I can identify with the activities. The thing that really just took me over the top was those dates. That I was like, oh, now how refreshing is this? Where a guy is actually getting to know someone, and then the hair braid one. That was totally unexpected. I was like,
Miss Lemons, you want to get you some braids so somebody
So it's not exactly a spoiler because it's very early on. She gets, it's not a sexual assault, but it's close to, right? It would have been very easy for the author to push it all the way
that's true.
and have something really worse happen to her, but she gets out of the situation before it does. Now, what I like about doing it this way is that it still impacts her. It still affects her, and it should, right? A lot of guys especially would look at it and say, well, you were okay, nothing happened, you should be able to get over it. That's her friend Destiny or something, or, right? Right. Her friend tries to tell her to get over it because, you know, it could have been a lot worse kind of thing. As an author, when you're putting stuff like this together and you're trying to decide, what do I have happen to Danny, it would have been easy to push it all the way, right? And have something really bad happen so that the audience needs to understand it. Instead, what she does is say, it came close. She was really affected by it, and that's okay. And that's even more important, I think, as a message, especially because, you know, it's YA, younger kids are going to read this too. For them to see that and go, okay, if I'm affected by something like this, that's normal, that's okay. I don't have to get over it, right? It doesn't have to change my life. It doesn't have to traumatize me forever, but it's okay if I feel some kind of way about it. Right?
Exactly.
And so I thought that was a really smart decision as far as how to handle that.
Right. She did that well, and you're right. She could have took it to the whole. And I even liked about the boundary setting of that. She did. She set some boundaries, and this. I was like, okay, that's all right. And like, yeah, females can set boundaries and say no and mean it, and you know, and get out of that situation. And
that is important, incredibly important for kids to understand.
Yeah, I'm glad that she did that because most directors and authors sometimes do take it too far and go all the way when they really don't have to. Especially when it's on the big screen. Nobody wants to see that, you know?
True, yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, any final remarks about the book?
Read the book.
Yeah, please read the book.
I love
Yes,
it.
read the book.
Can I just say, I really like that cover.
That's true too.
Yeah, this cover is beautiful. Artistically, it is gorgeous. But yes, we do recommend that you read this book.
Yes.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Okay.